Wow, thank you for that introduction. God has been busy with me. And I appreciate the service that I get to share. This is a very commanding room, and I see many people that I recognize, and it makes me feel so welcome. You knew we were going to talk about juvenile justice today, and you still came. I appreciate that. There is so much going on at juvenile court, and not many times does the public get a chance to understand that. This morning we had the Administrative Professional Day celebration, and my deputy clerk of court, administrative court, she said, we are like a family of ducks. When you see them on the lake, they're moving in the same direction in unity, but under the water, their legs are going. You don't see the energy and the work that is going on out there. It appears to be moving smoothly, and the work is getting done. But it is so much that has to be done and is being done by the folks that work out there. It is a joy to be doing the work there. And so I come to you not only on behalf of myself and Judge Haney, but on behalf of the staff that really makes it happen out there. I'm going to go really fast. I do have a PowerPoint that I wanted to help keep me on point, but I feel like a visiting preacher who tries to take you from Genesis to Revelation in 15 minutes. I'm going to apologize in advance, but I may not get a chance to come back and talk about juvenile court, so I'm going to dive in and give it my best shot. Let me see if I can. All right, and so I wanted to first just kind of introduce you to juvenile court and some of the things that we are striving to do. And we have our own children's code, in addition to some of the codes that are used in adult settings in district court and civil court. But our goal is the same: due process for the individuals who come before us, fair treatment, and always seeking justice. Justice is not dependent upon an age. It's dependent upon doing what is right and following the law, and that is our goal as well. We are serving the needs of children as well as the best interests of our community. And by the way, the best interests of our community includes the needs of children. That is not a one or the other. They are together. Our kids are a part of our community. We want to be efficient, effective, and timely in our law. In juvenile court, our deadlines are very clear in our juvenile code. For the most part, here in EBR Parish, we're very good in some areas of really maintaining those timelines. In other areas, we struggle, and most of it is because, and you'll see this in a PowerPoint a little bit later, because of the limited resources and the importance of making sure that everybody that comes into court have an opportunity to be heard. That is what justice is. That is what fairness is that you participate in your case. And in addition to coordinating services, we coordinate services from not only our Department of Juvenile Services, but community like you. We strive to work with the school system, with our state partners, whether it's the Department of Education, the Department of Labor, Office of Juvenile Justice, Department of Children and Family Services. There are so many tentacles that stretch out from a juvenile court in order to serve children and families. That's a lot of coordination that has to take place, and that takes place outside of the courtroom for a large part because you have to make relationships in order to get the services that we need. I'm not going to read this, and I'm not going to ask you to read this, but I wanted to show you the jurisdiction, some of the work that we are responsible for carrying out at juvenile court. And most folks know of delinquency, aka criminal. as well as child in need of care, that is our foster care system, as well as family in need of services, which is FINS, status offenders, kids who are committing or have behaviors that for an adult, it is not a criminal act. For instance, leaving home and never coming back. Some of us may or want to do that sometimes, and if you do, it's not a criminal act. But if a child leaves home without permission and does not return, they are considered a runaway, and that's a status offense. And so that's how you distinguish between the two. But we also do termination of parental rights. We do adoptions. We do immigration. There is a wide variety of things that occur at juvenile court. We are paddling away out there with many things. The good, the bad, and the difficult. And now I am truly going to run through these. And I have some pictures of our calming room, which you all help us to actually stand up and open at the beginning of this month. And so I thank you for that assistance on getting us to our calming room. As I begin to make this list about the good, the bad, and the difficult, I did like most of us. If we will count our blessing versus those things that we struggle with, we'll find that our blessings outnumber our detriments. And that's what I found again in looking and preparing to come today. We do have a family preservation court that is ran by Judge Haney that assists us in our child in need of care case. That's in addition. That is intensive, hands-on with families whose children are in state custody or jeopardy to come into state custody because of drug use, trying to keep kids at home while dealing with drug use by the adults who are responsible for caring for them. The truancy court and the truancy docket, that's FINS. That's a status offense. And I operate our FINS program, our truancy program, by dedicating certain days to just handle truancy, because that is a serious issue, not only in our parish, but across our state and in our nation. If our kids are not educated, then we as a community will ultimately have a problem. For our pending gun intervention, which is delinquency, a way for the court to intervene and address some of our gun violence by touching some of those kids who are involved with weapons at early stages so that we can begin to intervene at the touch before it becomes a discharge, before it becomes someone hurt at the other end of a firearm. And so we are pending that opening, hopefully within the next 30 days. Our calming room is our attempt to handle or incorporate trauma-informed care into our court system. Children who come out to court, especially our foster care kids, spend hours at court. And it is traumatic for them to walk in that door not knowing whether the judge is going to let them go home with the parent who's been alleged to neglect or abuse them, or where will they sleep tonight? That is traumatic. That is on top of the trauma that many of them have already experienced. This is a small room with a big job, and you guys help us to bring this to fruition. Again, I say thank you. And then lastly, what is good is our collaboration. Judge Haney and our court and myself, we collaborate with so many people in our community, from our school system sitting around the table, with our mayor's office, with job readiness, with probation, locally across the state and even national. Our collaboration with others, it has to occur in order for us to really make a difference in the work that is going on in juvenile court. Now, the bad. One bullet, big issue, inadequate facilities. I have just placed a couple of pictures here that shows you the hallway of our courthouse. We have 2 courtrooms in need of many more, at least one more, but people are sitting where you have to say, excuse me, to walk down the aisle on some days. In some areas of our buildings, people are sitting on floors because there's nowhere else to sit. And we have children in that last photo who are sitting by the door that goes to detention. So while kids are coming out of detention to come into the courtroom, shackled, out of detention, they watch them take the handcuffs off before they come into the courtroom, because kids do not wear handcuffs inside of the courtroom unless there's an articulable reason that we have to keep them on. But they are exposed to that, and families are exposed to that. And in the center there, you will see that there is a fight taking place as you come in, because the same place that defendants are coming into, so are our victims, so are our witnesses, so are our support partners. And if you look really closely, you'll see a little child in the corner who's so close to what is going on, as well as our receptionist. In that door behind her, or to her right, is our clerk's office. And so all of this is in close proximity because of the design, the inadequacy of our facility. I've been working out at juvenile court now coming up on 26 years. It has been the same. And because I am a God-fearing woman, I won't give up hope that one day we will change this. But it has not changed in 26 years. I will have to look to the next generation of leaders to do what this generation of leaders have not saw fit to do. This is the difficult. It's the limited resources, both in funding and in human resources. I put a chart up to just give you an idea of what we do here in East Baton Rouge alongside the other original jurisdiction juvenile courts, which are 4 of us in total: Orleans, Jefferson, and Caddo. You will see that this is an estimate that I got from the Census Bureau, that we are the largest of population of people, and we are the largest of youth who are under, or young people who are under the age of 18. You will also see we have 2 judges to toe the line, where there is 4 in Orleans, 3 in Jefferson, and 3 in Caddo. I did not have their numbers on how many cases they process, but our cases for 2024 was 2,425, 2.3% of the population of young people coming through our doors. This is what is filed. If you have any knowledge of juvenile court, because of the timeline, when a case is open, whether it is delinquency or whether it's child in need of care or truancy, there are multiple touches to this child. They are required to come back to court pretty quickly. For instance, a child who is detained in detention has to have a detention hearing within 3 days. They have to have a petition and have an answer, which you would know as an arraignment, within 7 days. They, on most occasions, unless it's a serious felony charge, crime against persons, they would have to have a trial within 30 days. And if adjudicated, they would have to have a disposition or sentencing within the next 30 days. All of these are touches on one case. So when you see one case, it is multiple visits to the juvenile court that we are seeing this individual, and that's how the work is compounded. Because I don't have the numbers for Orleans, Jefferson, Caddo, if I give them the benefit of the doubt that they do the same numbers that we handle here, and if I look at their budgets, which I did pull from public record, our budget for juvenile court is $1 million from the general fund here. The law says that the governing body has to fund the court. The Supreme Court funds the judge's salary, so we're not making a salary off the families that come into the court, right? And so in Orleans, $4.6 million, Jefferson, $5 million, and in Caddo, 4.6. In some of these cases, it's apples and oranges, and some is apples on apples. But for instance, Jefferson has within their budget the ability to have staff that does separately human resources, do their audits, handle their IT department. We have one person who is responsible for that piece under our umbrella, and we have a deputy clerk, administrator, that also assists kind of the IT people versus the human services, the audits, the budget. And so completely set up differently. They have a millage that funds them, and we depend solely on our city parish. They do have under them some probation staff, whereas our probation staff in our detention center is funded separately, and so those funds do not come to our court. It is a struggle. But again, we are smoothly sailing down this big lake, but we are working very hard to make it happen. I put up sustaining the work outside of the courtroom because juvenile court is so removed from the public on a constant basis of what's going on. If Judge Haney and I do not get out into the community like this invitation, my fear is that we would truly be forgotten, because the people that we serve, on the most part, they are under the age of 18 and they don't vote. For the most part, they don't have jobs, so they are not donating or have a financial impact in our community. And most, they are disenfranchised, are not voting because they're not old enough to vote. And so we don't have really a built-in voice to say this is what's needed. So we have to get outside of the courtroom. That is our primary place of employment, but it can never be the only place. And so again, I thank you for inviting me so that you can hear about our juvenile court system. This is a picture talking about the budget piece. In the center is the entrance into juvenile court. And right on the left-hand side, your left, my right, is the entrance into the Sally Port, into the detention center. This is so outdated that you would enter your court system with the door beside it, also your detention facility. That people who are coming in for adoptions, and they come in big groves, their community, their village comes with them. And at any time, we can have the village arrive with a little baby dressed in her prettiest dress, while law enforcement is bringing in someone that they have arrested for a shooting or a crime of violence. That just doesn't happen anymore. But this is what we have, and we make the best of it. But this is indicative of saying how important it is to give attention to our juvenile system. What you will find surrounding EBR are the standalone courts that we talked about or looked at in my data, in addition to Calcasieu, who just built maybe 3 years ago a new juvenile complex in which they have probation, pet therapy, all kinds of programs within their facility. You will look at it and you don't see any bars, you don't see any fences. It's enclosed and the sunlight comes from the sky, because sunlight, daylight is important for mental health, so that kids who are still developing will be receptive to the services we are trying to provide. We expect receptivity through fences and bars, and they are having receptivity through God's light. It's a difference. And so we're working. We have a task force that is at work to continue to try to get this addressed. But we need your knowledge, your help, your influence on our citizens to help them know what we need and what we're asking for and the why part of this. Then you'll see Jefferson Parish, you'll see Orleans Parish, and you'll also see Caddo. Their detention facilities are either attached, beside, where you cannot see as you go into the court, or it is not located in that same place at all. And so we've got some decisions to make as a community as to what we really want to expose our young people and our families to, and what we are willing to give in return. Now, I've got about 4 minutes, and I did want to turn this over, ask any questions, but I didn't want to leave out any law. This was the Truth and Transparency Act that was made in effect of March of 2024. They are still working on bringing it online. They had a time to actually activate this. And what it says is that young people who are in the juvenile justice system will now go into a portal that would be accessible to the community that will state what their arrest is, their detention, their bond, their judge, and their name. Now, my only caution to you is that this is an arrest. No one has been proven or found guilty. And once it's out there, it's out there. And it includes names. And so if someone wants to retaliate, then it is available to identify who and what is accused. They do also put adjudication and disposition in this portal. And the way that a young person can get themselves out is if they are ultimately found not guilty, then they would have to file for an expungement. So we would put the onus on the person found not guilty to get their names off this system. So if they later in life want to go to college, want to join the military, or any of those things, hopefully it does not pop up and become a barrier to success. That's just a caution. 2 minutes left, you guys. And this is our raise the age, lower the age. You all may have heard some of that discussion that went into effect April 2024. What this simply says is that before March 1st, 2019, and after April 19, 2024, 17-year-olds are prosecuted as an adult. So it is not new that they are prosecuted as an adult now, because before March 1st, 2019, they were. Between that time period, 17-year-olds were moved to the juvenile court system in a phase. First, it was the misdemeanor charges, and then all charges, crimes of violence included. Just so that you understand that raise the age, lower the age dynamic that is going on. With that, I think my time is up. Yes, I will take a question. 2 minutes, I'm told. Yes, ma'am.
Going back to the previous slide about the expungements, or once someone's found not guilty, why isn't that more part of the law? The case is closed, you're not convicted, whatever, and it should be automatically removed. Why?
For dispositions, which are sentencing, it is in our children's code that judges are to inform defendants that they can have their cases expunged once they have completed the process, if they are adjudicated. When taking the bench, I printed, because we're supposed to have those printed, I printed those, I have them at my bench, and I give them to all youth who are eligible. That is not occurring across the state. In fact, we weren't really keeping that data, and so I made it a data point for collection so that I can check myself. So it should be done, but if it's not encouraged or brought to the attention of the young person or their families, then my fear is not only is it not expunged, now it's exposed. Last question. You point. I don't want to get in trouble. You call. Yes, ma'am.
You benefited anyway, even indirectly, by the district attorney's tax election?
To be transparent, I wish it was us asking for the tax. But my fear, we tried twice. We were tagged along with other projects that the mayor's office put forth, and that unless it comes from the grassroots, that it is time to do something for our young people, Judge Haney and my voice alone along with Christ Jesus. Now, that's a big one. That we won't be able to convince the public to say yes. I work down the street from a new mosquito and rodent building, brand new, gorgeous, big, better than what we keep our young people in our courtroom. We also have our the veterinarian building that's down the street, gorgeous, beautiful. We take really good care, and we should, of our animals. Every day that I come to work, I see the DPW building, brand new, beautiful places to meet. My heart hurts every time I come and I tell the young people we care, and know that if they really look around, our action is not meeting our words. I wish it was us who was asking the public for that assistance. Thank you.